Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Wish Infinite. In this video of Playwright with TypeScript series, I will talk about how to execute tests in multiple environments with Playwright. And before starting, I would like to add one thing that I have created YouTube Shorts playlist for Playwright. You can watch this playlist to refresh your Playwright concepts. I will provide link of it into description, or you can go to my channel Wish Infinite, and under this playlist tab you would be able to access this Learn Playwright in 60 Seconds Shorts playlist. Also, you can click onto this community tab where you would be able to see this Playwright quiz. You can answer these questions which will help you to prepare for interview also. Now coming back to our current topic, which is about executing tests in multiple environments with Playwright. So handling multiple environments with Playwright lets you run tests onto different setups like development, staging, UAT, production, etc. So let's say for an example, you want to execute your tests onto development as well as UAT environment. So for both the environments, you would be having different URLs, different username, password, right? So every time you cannot go into your projects file and change these values. So for that, we will have to handle multiple environments for our test scripts. So that's what we are going to do here. And mainly we would require the .env package to handle multiple environments. We would also be using this cross-env package. I will tell you about it in later part of video, why we need to use it. Now let's see the practical example of it, that how to execute test in multiple environments. So for that, first thing which we would require is this .env package. So here into the Google, you can search for this .env, and here we need to click onto this .env onto this npm.js site, and we need to install this package. And to install this, we need to use this command, which is npm i.env. I is for install. You can also use npm install.env. Now let's go to the VS Code. Here I have already opened my projects folder, and then into the terminal we need to type this npm install.env or npm i.env. You can use any of the terminal, and once you hit enter, this package will get installed. You can also check the same inside this package.json file, where under this dependencies, this .env with its current version would be appearing. And for this particular video, I've already created one test script file inside this tests folder, where I have imported the test from the Playwright test module and created one test block with the heading handle multiple environments. And the second argument is the anonymous function, where we can also pass the page fixture. Now to handle multiple environments, we need to create .env files. So for that, let's create one new folder. Here, let's give it the name env-files. Any name you can give here for this folder. Now we need to create our .env files. So for that, you can right click onto this folder and click onto this new file. Here we need to create .env files. So for that, you need to type .env dot, and here we would be giving name of different environments which we want to handle. So let's say we want to execute our tests for the dev environment. So here after this dot, we can give dev or development, any name you can give. So here I am giving .env.dev. Hit enter. Let's create one more file to handle UAT environment. So for that, again right click onto the new file, and here I can give the name .env.uat. For now, let's create these two files only. Here you can create multiple files to handle multiple environments. Now inside the specific file, we need to provide the related data which is required to handle the specific environment. So here for this .env.dev file, let's provide the URL equals to, and here we can provide the link for the specific dev environment. For now, let's provide the link of this sourcedemo.com, and here we can provide the username equals to, and under the quotes we need to provide the specific username for that dev environment. For now, I'm just providing dummy data, but for your project, you can provide the specific details related to the dev environment. Hit enter. Now we need to provide password for the demo environment. So here I'm giving the key name as password. You can give any name. I'm keeping this name capital, but that is not compulsory. And equals to, then we need to provide the value. So here is the value. So let's provide this value here. So like this, you can provide different data. After hitting enter, you need to provide key equals to, and then its value under the quotes. And similarly, we can provide data for the second file, which is for UAT environment. So here let's open this .env.uat file, and here we need to provide the same key name. So here, let's copy this particular part. So we need to provide URL, username, password. And here you can provide specific values related to the UAT environment. So let's say for the UAT environment, we have the link source demo uat.com. We have username standard user 1 and password is also secret source 1. Okay, I'm just providing dummy data. But for your project, you would be providing specific details related to the UAT environment. And keep this thing in mind, you need to provide these keys value same for each file. I will tell you that how we can access this data. Now to access this data into our test script file, we need to use this process.env dot the specific key name. So let's say we want to access this URL. So here you can type this URL. Let's console log this value. So console.log and then this value. Now, if I execute the script, we will not get the specific value here. Why? Because Playwright do not know that from which file it need to pick this URL value, right? Because we have created these two files, but Playwright don't know where are these two files and from which file it need to pick this URL value. Similarly, we can access this username, password. Now, let's execute the script. So for that, we need to give command, which is npx playwright test and hit enter. So once the execution is complete, we would not be able to get this value. See here, we have got this undefined from this console log. So as I told, right, Playwright do not know from which file it need to get these values. So here we are using this process.env to get object containing the user environment. So we are trying to get access of these user environment, but here we have just created the files, right? And we are just trying to directly access those values. So now what we will have to do to access these values? So for that, we need to tell the Playwright that these are the files which are containing user environments, right? These are all environment variables and we are trying to access value of these variables. So here to tell Playwright that it need to consider these user environment variables, we need to go to this playwright.config.ts file. And here, as we have installed this .env package, so we are going to make use of this .env. So first we need to import this .env. So import .env from and then within double quotes this .env package. Now we are going to use this .env. So here outside this define config, we need to put this .env dot and here we need to use this config function, and inside config function we need to pass one object where we are going to provide this path colon, and here we need to provide path of the file from which Playwright need to consider these user environments. So for that, within double quotes or single quotes or backticks, we need to provide that path. So here I am using these backticks, and within backtick we need to provide path of the specific file. It can be .env.dev, .env.uat, .env.sanity. So depends on your requirement, right? From which file you want to take these values. So for now, let me provide that path. So to go to this particular path, we need to put this dot / and then this env-files. So env-files. So we are onto this path now. And then we need to provide this / and then the name of the specific file. So here .env dot, let's use this file. So .dev. So this is the simple path which we have provided to reach to this particular file. And now once I execute the script, so Playwright knows, right, that which file it need to consider to get the value of the environment variables. And then what it will do, it will fetch the value from this .env.dev file and it will show the value of this URL. So now let's again execute the script. So npx playwright test, hit enter. See, this time we have received this URL which we have provided inside this .env.dev file. If you change it to UAT here, so .env.uat, so this time it is going to take this URL where we have provided this source demo uat.com, right? So let's again execute the script for this UAT file. So npx playwright test. See, now we have got the value from the .env.uat file, which is source demo uat.com. So like this, we are able to handle multiple environments, right? If we want to execute test cases for the dev environment, here we change the path for this .env.dev file. And if we want to execute test cases from the UAT environment, then we changed this path for this .env.uat file. But like this, if we will do every time, we will have to come to this playwright.config.ts file. And then we need to go to this .env.config where we will have to update path before each execution whenever we want to change these environments. So this is kind of hard coding, which we don't want to do. We want that while starting execution, user should be able to tell to Playwright that on which environment it want to execute the test. And then on basis of that, these value will get picked. So for that, we will have to provide this information while giving this npx playwright test command, right? When we want to start the execution, at that time, we will provide this information that what is your environment. So for that, what we will do, this path would be same, right? .env-files / this .env would also be same. Only difference is this .dev, .uat, .sanity. So that we will have to pass. So for that, what we can do here, we can pass one variable. As we are using these backticks, so to provide variable which will concatenate with this string. So here I am putting this .env dot, and after that we need to provide this dev UAT. So for that we can put dollar and then these curly braces, and in between them we need to provide that variable name which will have these values dev UAT. So for that we are going to again use this process.env. So process.env dot, and here we need to provide one variable name. I will tell you where we need to use this variable name. Here let's put this variable name as test env, test_env I'm putting. You can put any name, right? It's up to you. You can only use env or test environment, any name we can put here. Now what we are doing, we are setting this path where we are telling that this is the folder name, and inside it we have file which is .env dot, and then this value, and this value we would be taking while giving this npx playwright test command. And now let's see how to provide this value of this test_env. So for that, let's go back to our query. So for that, first we should know that what are different terminals, right, on which we can provide the command to start the execution. About this, I've already talked in details into my tags video. If you have not watched that video, I will provide link of that video into the description, or you can click onto this I button at top right corner to access that video. For now, let me give you quick details about it. So we have three types of terminal: batch terminal, PowerShell terminal, or bash terminal, which we would be using. This batch terminal refers to command prompt, which is cmd.exe provided by Microsoft Windows. Same is the case for PowerShell. So it is also used mainly for the Microsoft Windows. And this bash terminal is the default terminal onto most Unix-based operating systems, including Linux or macOS. So we can use any of the terminal. You can use this bash terminal also onto the Windows machine. And for each terminal, there would be different syntax to provide the value of this environment variable. So let's start with this first terminal, which is batch terminal. You also call it CMD. And here, to provide the value of the specific environment variable, first you need to use this command. So it would be set and then the variable name which we have provided here, and equals to the value which we want to set. And after that, we can give this command which is npx playwright test. So let's see how we can do that. So currently we have not set the value of this test_env. And now if I execute the script by using this plain command which is npx playwright test, so it will not show any value here, right? Once the execution is done, we would be able to see this undefined here. See? So now let's set the value of this test_env. So for that, let's use cmd command first. So here I've already opened the cmd. From here, you would be able to see list of this terminals which you can use. Here I've selected this command prompt, right, which will open the cmd. Now here, to set the value of this environment variable, we need to use the syntax which is set, and then this variable name which is test_env equals to, and here we are going to provide value of our environment which we want to use, right? So this value would be either dev or UAT, or let's say if you have any other file, it can be sanity, smoke. So that name you can give here, and this value would be going here in place of this $braces process.env.test_env, right? And this path will get set and then Playwright will pick values into your test script from these files. So this time let's provide dev here. So test_env equals to dev and hit enter. And after that, we can use this npx playwright test. And once I hit enter, I should be able to see this console log with the value of the URL from the dev file. So from this .env.dev file, it has picked the value of this URL because we have set the value of this test_env to dev. So this time it was taking path as .env files /env.dev. And similarly, you can change the value to the specific environment for which you want to do the execution. For now, we are just console logging it just to show you that from which file it is taking value. But in your project, you would be using these values to perform your automation, right? You would be using this page.goto, and then within goto, you would be providing this URL value, and you would be using these username and password to provide these values into your locator, right? Page.locator of this username dot fill and the value of these values. So this was the syntax for this CMD or the batch terminal to set the environment variable and then to start the execution. Now similarly, we can use this PowerShell terminal. And by using this, if we want to set the environment variable, so in that case, we will have to use the syntax, which is $env : and then that variable name for which we want to set the value. In our case, it is test_env, and here we need to put equals to, and then we would be providing value of our environment, right? Here we were using this set variable name equals to the value. Here we are using $env : and then variable name equals to value. Now let's use the PowerShell terminal. So here again, you can click here and select this PowerShell. It will open this one. So here we need to use the syntax, which is $env : and then this environment variable, which is test_env equals to, and then we need to provide the value of the environment on which we want to do the execution. This time let's provide UAT, considering that you want to do the execution onto UAT environment. So for that, put double quotes, and inside it you can provide value of that environment. So here UAT would be there, and hit enter. And after that, you can use that plain command, which is npx playwright test, hit enter. And this time it should be able to read that URL value from this .env.uat file. So see, this value got printed from this .env.uat file. And here we can also execute these two commands together. For that, you need to just simply provide semicolon between these two commands. Let's quickly provide that. Let me copy this first command. So this .env : environment variable name equals to, and within quotes we have provided this UAT. Then put this semicolon, and after that we need to provide this npx playwright test. So after semicolon, provide that value. This space is also not needed between these two commands. You can directly put it there. And once you hit enter, directly it will execute your test, and it will set the value of this test environment to UAT. And at time of execution, it will take values from this file, which is .env.uat. So let's hit enter here, and we should be able to see that URL value from the .env.uat file. And now we have this third terminal, which is bash terminal, which is default terminal for the Linux and Mac OS, but you can use it onto the Windows machine also. See, here I'm using it onto the Windows machine, and here I have installed Git, so that's why I'm getting this Git bash with it. I'm going to use that. And with this bash terminal, we have the simplest syntax which we can use. So you need to use this variable name equals to, and then value which you want to set for that particular environment variable. And after space, you need to give this npx playwright test. Within single line, you would be able to give this command. So here, let's use this bash terminal. So here into the VS Code, if I will click here, I would be able to see this git bash option, as I've installed Git on my system. So that's why I'm able to use this git bash onto the Windows machine, and it will open this terminal. So here we need to give the value of this environment variable. So for that, first the variable name we need to provide. So test_env equals to, and then the environment on which you want to do the execution. So let's provide dev here, space, and then we need to give this plain command, which is npx playwright test. So by this, it would be setting the value of this environment variable to dev, and then it will start your execution. You can change the value to any of the environment for which you have provided file here. So hit enter. And this time, see, we have got this URL value into this console log from the .env.dev file. So this is the simplest command which we can use with the bash terminal, which will set the value of the environment variable, and then it will start your execution. For the PowerShell terminal, we saw the syntax, which was $env colon, and then environment variable equals to the value, and after colon, we can use this npx playwright test to set the value and start the execution into the single line. And with the CMD, first we set the value of this environment variable, and then we started the execution. So with whichever the command you are comfortable, you can use that particular terminal. But mostly this bash is the simplest one to execute the command within the single line with the simplest syntax. If you are not comfortable with it, you can use this PowerShell also to set the value and to start the execution into single line. So now we have learned about all the three terminals, that how we can set the value of this environment variable before the execution, and then we can start the execution. But here too much confusion is there, right? We need to keep the mind that on which terminal we are doing the execution, and then we need to provide the command according to that particular terminal. And to avoid this confusion, we are going to use this cross-env package. I told you, right? We are going to use this cross-env package. This cross-env package for Node.js helps manage environment variable across platforms and operating systems. It ensures more or less consistent behavior across different platforms by setting environment variables regardless of the operating system, right? Because if you would be onto the Mac OS, then you will have to use this bash, and then you can use this command. If you are onto the Windows, then you can use this particular command. But with this cross-env, we would be able to avoid this confusion. Let me show you how we can do that. So for that, first you can search for this cross-env here onto the Google. Onto this link you need to click, which is npmjs.com for this cross-env. And here you would be able to see the installation command, which is similar to this .env, which is npm I and then cross-env. You can copy it, and here you can paste that command into any of the terminal. Let's use this bash terminal. So here let's provide this npm I and then cross-env. Hit enter, and then this package will get added here into this package.json file. You should be able to see this cross-env. See, this is cross-env key colon and then its version name under dependencies got added. Now let's see how we can use this cross-env. So here, to use the capability of this cross-env, we need to go to this package.json. So till now what we were doing, we were giving this full command into our terminal. But now we are going to use the capability of this cross-env, where we will provide into package.json file, and then we will be using shortcut to start the execution. Let me show that to you, how we can do that. So here, go to this package.json, and here you will see this scripts key colon, and its value is the blank object. And inside this object, we need to provide key value pair. So key would be the shortcut which we want to use for the command. So let's say we want to do the execution onto the dev environment. So for that, I will use this shortcut where within the double quotes, provide this test_dev. Any name you can provide here. It can be test_dev or test-dev or test dev. Here I'm providing test::dev:, and then we need to provide the complete command through which this execution will happen. So our command is variable name. So test_env was our environment variable name for which we want to provide the value, right? So this is test_env equals to, and then value of the environment according to these files on which you want to do the execution. So for us, dev is there or UAT is there. You can use any of the value. And after space, we need to give this npx playwright test. And as we are going to use the capability of this cross-env, so for that, we need to provide this cross_env before it. Because if we will not provide it, we will not be able to recognize this command itself. Let me execute it without providing cross-env. So here, let's use this shortcut. So till now, to start the execution, we were giving npx playwright test. But this time, we need to give this npm run and then this name. So test::dev. And once I hit enter, I will be able to see this error that this test_env is not recognized as internal or external command. So now let's use this cross-env before giving this command. So cross -env space and then this command. So this is the bash terminal command. Okay. Now let me provide this npm run and then this shortcut. It can be test dev, test-dev. So it's totally up to you what name you want to provide here, and hit enter. And see, this time it is able to execute the script and was able to fetch the value of this URL which we have provided under this console log from the .env.dev file. And as I told that by using this cross-env, it will ensure consistent behavior across different platforms by setting environment variable regardless of operating system. So now let's execute our test from the PowerShell terminal. So here again I will give this command which is npm run and then test:dev. Hit enter, and this time we would be able to execute our test from the PowerShell terminal and we were able to fetch the value of this URL. And same can be done from this batch terminal. So here again give this npm run test:dev. Hit enter. And our execution is happening through this batch terminal by giving this command, which was for the bash terminal. So for each terminal, we are giving the bash terminal command, right? So either you are using Mac OS, Linux, or the Windows machine, you can configure it like this, and you'll have to just use this shortcut rather than providing this long command every time. Similarly, we can configure it for the UAT also. So put comma and within double quotes, provide this test:UAT, right? You can also give -UAT or _UAT. So this time I'm just providing it _UAT just to show you that you can change the syntax. Okay, and within double quotes, you need to again provide this cross-env. Don't forget to put this cross-env, otherwise your command will not work. And this cross-env we are using because we have installed this cross-env package separately. So test_env, this is the variable name. This also you can change. Whatever the variable name you give here, you would be using here. And after this, put equal UAT and then npx playwright test. And similarly, for n number of environments, you can configure it like this. And then to start the execution, you will have to use this npm run and then this key name. So in this case, I have provided this test_UAT. Oh, sorry, I have provided this T small. It should be exact syntax. So the variable name is TEST_env. So that's what you need to provide. Otherwise, it will not set the value of the correct environment variable, right? So this casing should be similar. Again, let's execute npm run test_UAT. And this time I should be able to see value from this .env.uat file, which got fetched for this console log. See, source_demo_uat.com. And it is not necessary that here you use this bash terminal command only. You can also use this PowerShell command where the syntax was like this $env : and then this variable name equals to value. Let me use that quickly also so that accordingly you can use as per your convenience. So $env : and then variable name equals to dev. And here for the PowerShell, we need to put semicolon between these two commands just to execute it into single line. And here also we need to provide the quotes around this value. So outside we have used double quotes. So inside we will have to provide single quote. And now let's execute this onto the bash terminal. So we have provided the PowerShell command, but now we are using it onto our bash terminal. So here simply use this npm run test:dev, same name which we have provided here. So npm run test:dev, hit enter, and this time it should be able to execute the script and it should pick the value of this URL from the .env.dev file. See, this value got printed for the URL. So that's what I wanted to tell you, that it is not necessary to use this bash terminal command inside this package.json. You can use this PowerShell terminal command also, but usually this bash terminal command is the simplest one with the simplest syntax. So that's why I prefer to use it, but it's totally up to you. Here with this PowerShell terminal command, we have so many special characters, right? $env : and then we need to provide this value within quotes and then semicolon between these two commands. So that's why it's better to use this bash terminal command with the simplest syntax. And similarly, we can fetch the value of any of the environment variable. So here we have just provided URL, username, password. You can provide any other key value pair also, and you would be able to fetch it. For now, let's fetch this username and password also. For this username, I am changing this name to username1 because this username is the default variable name for your user system. So that's why I'm changing it. Don't forget to change it in all the files. And let's print value of this username and password also. So here console.log and then process.env and then the value of this exact variable name. So username 1, and similarly we can provide the value of the password. So here copy this key name, password, and give it here. And now let's again execute the script. So npm run test:dev and it will pick these values. See, we are able to get the URL, username, and password. And you can use these values into your test scripts. Let's say we want to open this URL into browser. So for that, we can use this await page, which is this page fixture dot go to. And here we can provide this process.env.url. So let me copy it. And here you can provide it directly inside this go to, or you can save this value into one variable and then we can provide that variable here. So let's do that. So for that, const and then any variable name. Here I am giving this URL val equals to and then this process.env.url. And then we can provide this URL val variable inside this goto method. And here, as we are able to see error because this argument of type string undefined is not assignable to parameter of type string. So this process.env.url is returning us either the string or undefined. So that's why we are getting this error. So for that, we can provide type assertion. So here we have two ways to provide type assertion. Any one of the way you can use. Here before this process.env.url, you can provide these angular braces, and between these angular braces, you need to provide this string. So here we are specifying that it is going to give us the string, and see the error also went away. And there is one more way where rather than providing these angular braces and string, we can use this as. So for that, we need to use const URL val, and we can directly use this process.env.url. And after that, we need to put this as, and then here we need to provide a string. So this is second way to provide type assertion. Any one of the way you can use. Let me comment out this first way. The second way is the preferred one, but it's totally up to you. And once I do the execution, it will open one browser where we should be able to see the URL for the specific environment for which we do the execution. So if I do execution for the dev environment, I would be able to see this correct URL. But before doing execution, let me make one change. So here into this playwright.config.ts file, we have made this headless true. That's why we were not able to see browser. But if you will make it false, so we should be able to see the browser. Now let's do this execution. So again, we need to give this command npm run test:dev, hit enter, and it will open the URL from the .env.dev file. It would be very quick. We should be able to see the browser and the correct URL. See, we were able to see this sourcedemo.com URL from this .env.dev file. And similarly, we can provide these username and password for the login. So here, let me use this pick locator to detect these username and password locators. Here, let's provide the correct link and then mouse over onto this username. Click here, go to VS Code. Here the locator got generated. Hit enter to copy it. And then we need to provide this await page dot and then paste this generated locator. Dot fill method we need to use to provide value inside this username field. And here we can use this process.env.username1. So provide it here. And here again we are seeing this errors. So we need to provide type assertion. So for that, you can use any one of the way. Here let me use this first way. And similarly, we can detect this password field also. So mouse over onto this password, click here, go to VS Code, hit enter to copy this generated locator for the password field. Provide this await page dot and then paste that generated locator for the password field dot fill, and here we need to provide this process.env dot password, and again we can provide this type assertion. So for that, as string, prefer to use this second way, and let's provide some wait at the end so that we would be able to see that correct URL got opened with this username and password for whatever the environment we do the execution. So for that, we can provide this await page dot wait for timeout, and here we can provide value in milliseconds. So let's wait for 7 seconds. So here 7000 millisecond we need to provide. And now let me do this execution. So npm run test :dev. So it will take values from this .env.dev file where we have provided the correct username, password, and the URL. So here it enter. This is already open browser. One more browser will open and we should be able to see this URL is getting opened and correct username and password got entered. And here, if you don't want to provide this type assertion, so in that case, we would be able to see this compile time error, but at runtime, it will not give any issue. Let me remove this type assertion for both username and password and again do the execution. So npm run test :dev. This time it will open the browser and will enter this username and password here into these fields. See, the values got entered. We got one passed also, but here still we are seeing that compile time error. Let me put these type assertions back so that this error will went away, right? It is better to leave the code without any error. And here, if we will do the execution for the UAT, so in that case, wrong URL will get opened, right? This is the dummy URL which we have put, which is source demo UAT. Let's execute it for the UAT environment also. For that, we need to provide npm run and then test _UAT. For now, let's change it into the same format just to avoid any confusion to test :UAT. Okay. So test :UAT here with the command also and hit enter. And this time browser will get opened, but it will open this dummy URL from this .env.uat file. See, browser got opened. And here it is going to use this source demo UAT, right, which is the wrong URL, and it will not be able to open that URL here. And this execution will get failed. See, execution got failed. So this is just the example. You would be using the correct URL, username, password, and any other environment variable which you want to use specifically for your execution. And one last thing I would like to cover. So if you have noticed, inside this playwright.config.ts file, we are providing this .env.config, and inside it, we are setting this path to this .env files folder /.env. And then here we are providing value of this test_env environment variable through the command. So whatever the command which we provide, so if it is for dev or the UAT, so accordingly it will take these values. But what if someone directly execute it without providing this value? Let's say if I give the command which is npx playwright test. Let me provide this npx playwright test here. Here we are not providing value of this test_env. So if I do so, our script will get failed. Why? Because it would not be able to set the value of this test_env. And here, if the correct value will not go, so Playwright will not get to know that from which .env file it need to pick the values here into your test script. So let me do the execution. Here we would be seeing this URL, username, and password as undefined because we have not provided those values. See, the execution got failed, and here it has printed this undefined for the username, password, and the URL. So how to solve this issue? So for that, what we can do here inside this playwright.config.ts, we can provide this path like that. If someone provide this value, then it should take this path. Otherwise, we will always set it to one environment. Let me show that to you. So here, let's copy this process.env.test_env. So after path : provide this process.env.testenv, and then we would be using this ternary operator. So for that, question mark, and after that we are providing this value. So if this process.env.test_env is having some value, so in that case it need to set path as this one. Otherwise we can put : here, and if we have undefined value for this one, So in this case, it should be set this path to this .env.dev file. So here we can provide this value directly. So ./env-files. So path of this folder /.env.dev. So if the tester do not set the value of this test_env also, in that case, it will set this path and our execution will be successful. And in this case, you would also be able to execute your script from this Playwright extension, right? Because indirectly it is going to use this npx Playwright test only. If you will not provide this path value, so in that case, you will be getting failure if you execute through this Playwright extension also. Let me execute the script. So here, click onto this run. See, our URL, username, password got printed correctly, and it has provided this URL, username and password into browser correctly. Here into terminal also, if you provide this npx Playwright test directly, so our execution will get successful because it will pick value from this .env.dev file. See, we are able to do the execution successfully and we got one passed here. So it's better to provide this path inside this .env.config like this, so that you would be able to use all the functionality, right? Even without setting value of this test_env, and you would be able to do this execution with this Playwright extension also. So that's it from mine. Let me give you the quick recap. So here we learned that how to handle multiple environments so that we would be able to execute our script without changing anything into our code. We will have to just provide the specific command and we should be able to execute our script onto any of the environment. It can be any environment, either the dev, UAT, production, right? So onto any environment you can execute it. And for that, we have used two packages. One is the .env and the second one was cross-env. And let me show you what are all the steps which we have followed. So first, what we have done, we have created these .env files. So for that, we need to give the name .env and your environment name. It can be dev, UAT, production. So any logical name should be there. And once you create the file, you need to provide the key value pair, where key would be same for all the files, right? So here we have used URL for the .env.dev file and same for the .env.uat file. So the key name should be similar and its value would be different according to that particular environment. And once you create these files, you will have to tell Playwright that which file to use. So for that, you need to go to this playwright.config.ts file inside the project folder, where you need to import this .env from .env package which we have installed. And then outside this define config, you need to provide this .env.config parenthesis, and there you need to pass an object where path would be the key and its value would be the path of the specific .env file. So for that, we have provided this folder name .env. And then here we are using this environment variable within the curly braces process.env test_env. We are using this syntax as we are using backticks here. You can use double quotes or single quotes also in place of backticks. There you would be using plus and then this process.env test_env. Any variable name you can provide here. And once you set this path, you will have to start the execution. So for that, we have learned that for a specific terminal, we will have to give the specific command. So for the bash terminal, we need to use this command. For the PowerShell terminal, we need to use this $env : variable name equals to that variable value and then npx Playwright test. If you want to combine it, you will have to use this semicolon in between them. And for the bash terminal, we need to use the simple command, which is variable name equals to value of that environment and then after space npx Playwright test. And this is the command which usually I prefer. And once you hit that command, it will be able to set the value of this environment variable. And on the basis of that particular path, it will pick the value from that .env file. And then you can use those value inside your script like this. And to make your life simpler, we have used this cross-env package, where after installation of the cross-env package, here inside this package.json, inside this scripts value, we have provided key as the shortcut which you want to use. And then the complete command. Here you can provide any command. It can be PowerShell terminal command, bash terminal command. But before that, you will have to provide this cross-env and then the same command which you want to use. So here we have given this variable name equals to the environment value after space npx Playwright test, and the same we have done for the UAT. You can do it for a number of environments. And once you want to start the execution, so for that you'll have to give this shortcut command which is npm run and then this key which we have provided. You can provide any key name here, just follow the same syntax, so it would be easy for you to remember. So npm run test:/UAT or test colon dev we can provide in this case, and it will do the same work. It will set the value of this environment variable here into this playwright.config.ts file, where it is setting path of this user environment file. So whatever the environment on which you want to do the execution, you can give this execution command according to that, and from that specific .env.environment file, your values will get picked, and on basis of that, your execution will get started. So that's it from my end. You can click onto this first card to go to the next video. You can click onto the second card to access the whole Playwright tutorial playlist, and stay tuned for my upcoming videos. If you have any comments, questions or doubts, you can let me know into the comment section below. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much. Have a great day.